body mass index is a measure that uses your height and weight to work out if your weight is healthy. The BMI calculation divides an adult's weight in kilograms by their height in meters squared. For most adults, an ideal BMI is in the 18.5 to 24.9 range. If your BMI is below 18.5, you're considered underweight. Between 18.5 and 24.9, you're in a healthy weight range. Between 25 and 29.9, you're in the overweight range. And between 30 and 39.9, which is me, you're in the obese range. BMI takes into account natural variations in body shape, giving a healthy weight range for a particular height. As well as measuring your BMI, healthcare professionals may take other factors into account when assessing if you're at a healthy weight. Muscle is much denser than fat, so very muscular people may be a healthy weight even though their BMI is classed as obese. The word yard sees its etymology from the Old English gird, meaning twig or rod. A yard was originally the length of a man's belt or girdle, as it was called. In the 12th century, King Henry I of England fixed the yard as the distance from the nose to the thumb of his outstretched arm. From the 14th century onwards, a yard was standardised to 3 feet, each foot containing 12 inches, each inch equaling the length of 3 barleycorns. A yard today is still 36 inches. Hippocrates taught that the human hand could be used to judge the presence of a fever in a person as early as 400 BC. However, precise instruments to measure human body temperature were not developed until the 16th century. Temperature is energy measured with a tool called a thermometer, which comes from the Greek words thermos, meaning hot, and metron, to measure. 3 temperature scales are in general use today: Fahrenheit, Celsius, and the Kelvin scale. In sport, we use mainly Fahrenheit and Celsius. In 1714, Daniel Fahrenheit unveiled a mercury-based thermometer. His scale for freezing started at 32 because he used the temperature of an ice-salt water mixture as 0 degrees. In 1742, Anders Celsius proposed a scale based on 2 fixed points: 0 the boiling point of water and 100 the freezing point of water. Following Celsius's death, the points were reversed. Celsius initially called his scale centigrade, from the Latin for 100 centi degrees grade, because there were 100 points between water freezing and boiling. It was later changed to his name in honour. The MET, or metabolic rate of task, is the measure of the ratio of the rate at which a person expends energy relative to the mass of that person while performing physical activity. 1 MET is defined as 1 kilocalorie per kilogram per hour and is roughly equivalent to the energy cost of sitting quietly. A MET is also defined as the oxygen uptake in millilitres per kilogram per minute, with 1 MET equal to the oxygen cost of sitting quietly. That's 3.5 millilitres per kilogram per minute. A MET is the ratio of the rate of energy expended during an activity to the rate of energy expended at rest. For example, 1 MET is the rate of energy expenditure at rest. A 4 MET activity expends 4 times the energy used by the body at rest. If a person does a 4 MET activity for 30 minutes, they have done 4 times 30, which equals 120 MET minutes, or 2 MET hours of physical activity. A person could also achieve 120 MET minutes by doing an 8 MET activity for 15 minutes. RPE, or the rate of perceived exertion, is a scale used to identify the intensity of your exercise based on how hard you feel or perceive your effort to be. Originally, the RPE scale was established as the Borg scale of perceived exertion, which went from 6 to 20. If you added a 0 to your perceived exertion, you'd get your approximate heart rate. For example, a 13 on that scale would correspond to about 130 beats per minute. In the 1960s, that scale changed to an easier to understand one of 0 to 10, with 0 being nothing and 10 being the hardest you could possibly exert yourself. An RPE of 1 to 3, you are comfortable and can talk and breathe normally. Between 4 and 6, you can talk in short spurts. Breathing's laboured. You're within your comfort zone but working. From 7 to 9, you can barely talk, breathing is heavy, and you're outside your comfort zone. 10 on the RPE, you are at your physical limit or past it. Blood pressure is the force of circulating blood on the walls of the arteries. Blood pressure is taken using 2 measurements: systolic, measured when the heart beats, when blood pressure is at its highest, and diastolic, which is measured in between heartbeats when blood pressure is at its lowest. Blood pressure is written with the systolic blood pressure first, followed by the diastolic blood pressure, for example, 120/80. Factors affecting blood pressure are being overweight, eating too much salt and not eating enough fruit and vegetables, not doing enough exercise, drinking too much alcohol or coffee or other caffeine-based drinks, smoking, not getting enough sleep or having a disturbed sleep, or your age, especially in the over 65s. If you are interested in sports facts and jokes, please check out my 5-star rated book, Interested in Sport. It's available online and in all good bookstores. You should also have a look through some of my many other films I have been creating and consider subscribing to ensure you're kept up to date about new releases. Please, I would really ask a favour of you. I'd love you to pass the word about my films to anyone you might know. And if you were to share this film with anyone, I'm sure your happiness in life would be completely assured.